He was quite willing to answer a personal question and readily explained, in reply to some enquiry, that he was in the West, because he believed that the time had come when nations were to exchange their ideals as they were already exchanging the commodities of the market. From this point onwards, the talk was easy. He was elucidating the idea of the Eastern pantheism, picturing the various sense impressions as but so many different modes of the manifestation of one, and he quoted from the Gita and then translated into English, "All these are threaded upon me as pearls upon a string." He told us that love was recognized in Hinduism as in Christianity as the highest religious emotion, and he told us a thing that struck me very much, leading me during the following winter to quite new lines of observation, that both the mind and the body were regarded by Hindus as moved and dominated by a third, called the self. He was describing the difference between Buddhism and Hinduism, and I remember the quiet words, "The Buddhists accepted the report of the senses." In this respect, then, Buddhism must have been in strong contrast with modern agnosticism, whose fundamental suspicion as to the subjective illusion of the senses, and therefore of all inference, would surely bring it more into line with Hinduism. I remember that he objected to the word faith, insisting on realization instead. And speaking of sects, he quoted an Indian proverb, "It is well to be born in a church, but it is terrible to die there." I think that the doctrine of reincarnation was probably touched upon in this talk. I imagine that he spoke of karma, bhakti, jnana as the three paths of the soul. I know he dwelt for a while on the infinite power of man, and he declared the one message of all religions to lie in the call to renunciation. There was a word to the effect that priests and temples were not associated in India with the highest kind of religion, and the statement that the desire to reach heaven was in that country regarded, by the most religious people, as a little vulgar. He must have made some statement of the ideal of the freedom of the soul, which brought it into apparent conflict with our Western conception of the service of humanity as the goal of the individual. For I remember very clearly that I heard him use that word society for the first time that afternoon, in the sense that I have never been quite sure of having fully understood.